What's a trade secret you know from working the industry? If you ship through FedEx Express, if you're sending many packages, envelopes to a single stop, ship one priority overnight and the rest standard. They'll be delivered together with the priority package. A resistor is made in Japan. It is wrapped in plastic and shipped to Michigan. It's installed into a small PCB. It is wrapped in plastic and shipped to Taiwan. That PCB is installed via sideboard connector onto a larger PCB. It is shipped to China. That PCB is installed in a small housing via harness. It is shipped to India. That housing has its microchips programmed and the outside is given a chemical treatment. It is shipped back to Michigan. The housing is now treated and installed into a car side mirror. It is shipped to Ohio. The side mirror is run through a post-production sort program to check for defects. It is shipped to Detroit. It is installed onto a car. Every single step of that shipping, every single component is wrapped in plastics. Millions of them per car, to over half a dozen locations each. Something like 50 million cars are produced each year. Your straws aren't doing shit for the use of plastics. Automotive production and diagnostics engineer. We actually did find and file that bug in your favorite video game. Our leadership just decided it was okay to ship with it. If you want to book a rental car but they're sold out, book it for a week or two longer than you actually need it and then just return the car early and you'll only get charged for the time that you had it. All the systems owned by Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Enterprise, Alamo and National automatically open up their system to long-term reservations and will make sure you get a car over someone who only booked in for a day or two. Worked there for 2 years. It's a dirty business, but at least I learned a lot of rental hacks. LMAO. Most electronic medical records allow providers to put pop-up warnings in your chart if you act verbally or physically aggressive. If you yelled at the nurse in 2017, the medical assistant you called today begging for a last-minute appointment can see it. If you are buying software for your workplace, get a quote and then go silent until it's the end of the quarter. Then call the sales representative and tell them you can buy it today but only have enough budget for 70% of the cost. Your chances for a discount go way up at the end of the quarter. As an enterprise software sales representative, fuck you. Also, I totally agree. Edit. Man, this blew up lol. Since people have asked, here's my unofficial and incomplete list of what affects the price you pay. How much you are buying when you are buying, how much repeat business we think we can get from you, how long you spent working with us during the deal cycle, what you buy, different margins for different products. The age of the product. Product managers, who set the discounting thresholds, may allow a deeper discount for a new product to get more of it sold initially and increase awareness, adoption, how well known your company is. Many OEMs want to add your logo to their website as a customer, so literally the clout could net you a better price. If one of your C-levels are willing to take a meeting with us, we will trade price for exposure to upper-level decision-makers. Bonus discount if they will speak as a customer reference. Double bonus discount if they will speak at a conference. Where the rep's quota attainment is. Are they behind? If so, you might get a better deal. This is stuff you will never know. Likewise, did your rep's boss just get chewed out for being behind on his/her number? You might get a better deal. What you are buying in addition to the software. We'll take a few points off if you add services to it. Spiffs. If your representative is receiving double quota credit for selling a particular type of software, or any software during a limited window of the spiff, you will get a decent discount because the representative needs the deal to happen now. Your poker face. If you convince me that you might actually not do the deal, I'll work with you. If I think you are just posturing and I know you actually need the software, get ready to fight for a week to only get 2 points off while I act like that's a huge win for you. My mood. LMAO. On any piece of machinery, if the welds you see look like shit, the welds you don't see are even worse. Calls are not being answered in the order received. And let me guess, it's not unusually high call volume, it's that they just haven't hired enough people to actually answer all the calls in a reasonable time frame? Also, the menus haven't recently changed. If you are wondering what's taking me so long to process your loan application, it's because I forgot about it. Casinos don't need to cheat. We have already rigged the game against you. Funniest thing I ever heard from a bookie is that all his clients will tell you at the end of the year that they're about even. Oh yeah. Then how did I afford this BMW? He'd say. You gotta love the gamblers who always win. One of my friends would talk about her friend who always wins. I'm like, you mean the dude living with his parents in his 30s who has put himself on the do not let me in the casino list twice? That guy? Yeah. Gamblers only tell you when they win. People also have their own definitions of winning. I know someone who goes to a casino regularly and always somehow comes away as a winner. When I asked some questions, it became clear that they had a very loose definition of winning in their mind. Since they expected to lose all the money they took with them, if they came home with any money, they sincerely considered it as having won money. So if they went in with $300 and came out with $50, then in their minds they won $50. They didn't see it as a $250 loss. I used to have a gambling problem. I remember one night I went to the casino with $5,000. I played for around 4 to 5 hours. I left with $5,000. In the moment, I felt like a loser, because I left with the same amount of money that I walked in with. In truth, I was at least okay, because I didn't lose any money. In reality, I enjoyed my time there and left with the same amount of money I walked in with, so I'd call that a win. But I used that to justify going back the next day and losing that $5,000. And then pulling out another $5,000 and immediately losing that too. I used to be very dumb. Now I'm just marginally dumb. There was a politician back in the Bush administration, William Bennett, the drug czar, who was revealed to have a gambling problem, and part of his defense was that he hadn't lost much and was about even over several years. His preferred game? $500 a pull slots. Pull the other one, Bill. Financial records showed he'd actually lost around $8 million. The urine pregnancy test you take at the doctor's is the same as the Dollar Tree one. When you order at a drive-thru, the microphone stays on until you move forward. So everyone inside the store with a headset on can hear your conversation until you leave the ordering area. Edit. Wow. This blew up while I was at work. Tourism industry here. Look up when peak season is for the destination you're looking at. There are usually cheaper prices or the beginning and end of the season. Try to book at the beginning of the season. Seasonal workers work themselves ragged and are usually completely burnt out at the end. At the beginning of the season, everyone is stoked to start making money again. Having a crew that can pass a drug test is not the same as having a drug-free crew. Worked in high-end golf clubs for years. Almost all politicians register their handicap scores under a false name. The USGA handicap records are technically public information, and people would be pretty pissed if they knew how much time these guys actually spend playing golf. Movie industry. Unless you are absolutely breathtaking in your audition, which does happen, don't get me wrong, there is a list of 30 people each studio prioritizes to be in their major films. Most fossils in museums are replicas. These days they're usually plastic casts from silicone molds of real fossils, but 3D printed replicas made from high-resolution scans are becoming more and more a part of things. I've worked in high-end rugs. If you own a hand-knotted rug, don't bother getting it professionally cleaned. If it's just wool, it probably is. Take a pressure washer and some rug shampoo to it if you like. Not necessary unless there's some stains. Knotted rugs are super strong and can take it. I know someone who has a high-end cleaning business and this is what they do and charge for this service. 2. 100% wool rugs that you see in stores IKEA, West Elm, Crate and Barrel, etc. are made with blended wool. Which is fine, but it is just lower quality wool and will shed. New Zealand wool is what you want and has to be advertised as such. 2. Hand-tufted rugs are okay if you can't spend more than like $2 or $3K for an 8x10. These rugs will have a fabric backing as the fibers are glued down in the back instead of knotted in place, so the fibers will come loose, and they're likely made with blended wool. Don't spend thousands on a tufted rug. 3. Never buy a rug with viscose in it, also called banana silk or art silk. It may be okay for bedrooms or low traffic areas but is a pain in the ass to clean. You can't spot clean a stain, you have to get the whole thing cleaned by a professional. It stains easily. Stains on wool can be spot cleaned. 4. Low on money? Your best bet may be a flatwoven rug in wool. Flatweaves can be decently hard wearing. You can flip it because it looks identical on the other side, and are often thin enough and if small enough to fit can be thrown on the delicate cycle in the wash. Lots of flatweaves out there, they're popular and not so expensive. Don't buy polyester or machine-made rug please. They tend to look like shit easier and are harder to clean. If a medical professional ever suggests you get a second opinion, e.g. a nurse at the doctor's office, it can be code for they are concerned about the quality of the medical care you are currently receiving. And that you really should get that second opinion. All I'll say is wash the tops of your canned goods before opening them, folks. For the love of God, do it. Not sure if any of this is a secret, but if you can't find a book at your local library, ask the reference librarian to do an inter-library loan. They have access to large networks of libraries that are able and willing to share materials, sometimes even across state lines depending on the sort of library and request. Also utilize the digital content. We have to pay big bucks and fight with publishing companies to get that content, ebooks, audiobooks, etc., and they are great resources. Libby and Overdrive are awesome. Many library systems also offer streaming content of movies and TV shows. Oh, and you can check out national park passes and museum tickets too at many libraries. Arcade crane games have knobs inside that let you control how strong the claw grabs. So you basically make the claw really weak strength and then there's a setting in the motherboard to make the claw go full power after a certain amount of plays. Whatever the arcade or owner decides how often they want people to actually win. A certain 48 inches interstate natural gas pipeline valve is being kept open by a strategically placed piece of 2x4 lumber. If the valve was closed, millions of people would be without nat gas fairly quickly. The U.S. military wastes an extraordinary amount of money, and not necessarily on weapons or personnel or anything like that. Every year, commanders must submit their total spending for the previous year. If they did not spend the granted amount, they lose it next year. So for example, if a commander is granted $5 million for his building but he only spends $4 million, his next budget will drop to $4 million. This results in commanders ordering expensive stuff in bulk, replacing good furniture and equipment, and enacting pointless construction projects such as a parking lot that they don't need. Great example. When he couldn't make the budget, our commander ordered 360-inch TVs and had them placed in the hallways, spare rooms, and tossed the remainder in storage. Each TV was overpriced at around $1,000. Commander met his budget though, so I guess it was a success. Welcome to the bloated U.S. military. Edit. I realize most of the government works this way, but this is just my specific experience in the military, which is arguably the most bloated and overfunded piece of the federal government's budget. At any given point in time, roughly 10 to 20% of the entire Internet has a dev team in an absolute panic state. The websites you use for every aspect of your life are held together with duct tape and shoestrings. When moving into a new rental, before you move anything in, take a video of your walk-through and mention and point out everything and anything. Mark the date, time, and address. If they give you a small form to write on, make your own. This can save you lots of issues when you move out. When you play Match 3 games, like Candy Crush Saga, after beating a few levels the game will make it impossible for you to continue. You will be getting impossible odds. If you put your device aside and return after several hours or a day later, you will find the previously impossible level to be easy AF. It is a mechanism to prevent people from burning through hundreds of levels in one go. Hard braking is the #1 driving behavior identifier that someone will be in an accident, so just chill. At Starbucks, they have a recycling and trash bin. They both go into the dumpster. If you are involuntarily kicked off a flight because of oversales, you can demand cash instead of a voucher. Scroll down to involuntary. Awards tend to be bullshit. Awards companies are there to sell advertising. They make up awards, offer winning titles to businesses, then charge them to include their name in their literature. For example, the business my husband and I own recently won a national award. We were even asked what award we'd like to win. What's the title of the award you feel you'd be best suited to? We could have made anything up and we'd have been given it. Best XYZ in the known universe. To receive a certificate, we need to pay them £70. For a trophy, it's £225. To have a quarter-page spread in their magazine, it's £650. For a featured article, we have to pay them £2,000. It's a load of bullshit. Nobody ever remembers who gave the award, and frankly we aren't daft enough to pay for a featured article nobody will ever read, so we just use the term award-winning in our own advertising now. Edited to add thank you for the awards. All emergency rooms are not equal emergency rooms. In my hospital, we don't have any sort of OB, pediatrics or any of that. Whenever a kid comes in, or worse a baby, the nurses and doctors are all in a panic. Not because they're incompetent but because that's not what our hospital does regularly. Sure, we will stabilize to the best of our ability and we will immediately call the local children's hospital. But if you have a child for example in distress, and you have multiple hospitals nearby, try being aware beforehand which one is the best for yours or your child's needs. You don't want to rush into an ER where there isn't someone who can confidently and effectively treat you. For every publicly announced data breach, whether that be a confirmed leak, or the identification of a security flaw, there are 50 other such incidents that companies swept under the rug. Data security is complicated, and most organizations don't have the proper expertise to secure their data. Most sweet and sour sauce from Chinese restaurants is literally just ketchup, white vinegar and honey. As a freelance photographer, most magazines and newspapers don't pay you for using your photos. They offer you photo credit only. If you ask to be paid, they just get a similar photo from someone else. If your IT guy sounds annoyed, there's a good chance it's because he spent way too much time fighting with management telling them not to do the thing that caused your problem. The welds on something can tell you a lot about the quality assurance happening during production. In recording studios, very rarely is a vocal sung all the way through. What you're hearing is each line punched in individually. Almost always. The Canadian legal system is extremely underfunded and overwhelmed. If you are being sued by the Crown, government, for a non-violent offence, you can literally filibuster the court into dropping your case, in some instances. As an HVAC mechanical engineer, if you tell us you don't care about a brand, it'll open up an entire industry of options. Almost all packaged equipment has the same efficiency and warranty, but some brands just cost way more than others because of whatever internal proprietary controls they have or inflated egos or whatnot. I can design you a system for 30 to 50% less sometimes if you give me the flexibility to do so. I can also show you a comparison to prove to you that two systems of different costs will operate equally. I should add, that a good, ethical engineer, engineering sales, should also keep in mind maintenance, dimensions, fitment, and overall longevity of the unit. And they should have in-depth discussions with their customers. Lowest equipment cost does not always equal longest lifespan. I'm just talking about operational comparisons. Things may have changed in the past few years, but generally speaking plastic is hardly ever recycled anymore. It used to be shipped to China for processing, but even they had a hard time with the amount of pollution and toxic waste produced by recycling it. Now it will get shipped to other countries in Asia where more often than not it just gets dumped into the Pacific Ocean. A lot of municipalities just add it to a landfill. On the other end of the spectrum, aluminum recycling is amazing. Attorneys can really only remember the details of about 20 to 40 cases at a time, so if you call your attorney after about a month or two, depending on the firm and how busy they are, they likely completely forgot what happened to you, and are working off a set of notes to pretend they have any clue who you are. Especially if you've really only interacted with them via phone other than one time in person for an intake or whatever. Please don't be offended if your lawyer needs 3 to 4 data points to remember what case you are. Some of us carry over 100 at a time and my brain just needs a minute. But once I boot up that you're the one with the 3 random things that make you stand out, I really do remember the whole thing. I will never, ever remember the case by your name. I'd be a much more expensive lawyer if I had sales skills like that. I doubt this will be too interesting to most, but if you buy 100 tons of straight rebar, you're actually only getting like 95 tons of steel. ASTM allows the rebar to be up to 6% lighter than the nominal weight per foot, and so it saves on raw material if you aim to run 4 to 5% light. However, rebar is tested based on the nominal weight per foot, so two pieces of rebar with the same strength will be able to hold the same amount of force even if one is thinner than the other. The biggest security threat in your company isn't your older PCs, lack of security software protecting your network, updated patching of all systems. Yes, those are all still threats, it's your employees. On average, half of your employees will give out their login and password to an email, website, or even someone who called claiming to be a person that needs that info. They will give that away faster than any hacker trying to break in through the network. The Target breach of 2013 cost them $18.50 million after hackers stole 40 million credit and debit records. How'd they do it? An HVAC company that worked on a number of Target locations had an account's login password stolen. That's how they got in. No movie-style hacking sequence, just a dumb employee who gave their info away and cost millions in damages. Some musicians use a teleprompter so they don't forget their lyrics during concerts. I know this because I did it for a few years. My boss ran teleprompter for Tom Petty for over a decade leading up to his death. It is a strange, very small community of teleprompters in music. I've gotten a few messages asking which rap artist. I used to tour with Nas. This makes sense to me. If I was a singer, I'd either need a teleprompter or I'd be known as the artist who spontaneously makes up new lyrics during shows. If you're having pruning done by a tree service, verify that the crew leader who's actually performing the work is certified or experienced and not just the owner. Also, different companies and arborists have different nuances and theories they prune by. My take is to make as few cuts as necessary to accomplish the goal. Anyone selling you wine thinning is just taking years of life off your tree. Same thing if you have notable or valuable trees near the power lines. Results may vary, but if you bug them enough, the power company forester should, hopefully, be able to get you a certified trimmer or someone who won't hack your tree. Keeping in mind that they still have to get their clearance. Edit. A certified arborist is a good start. Not a guarantee. I've seen plenty of bad work from ESA-certified people. The most common thing I see is over-pruning. Also, someone mentioned Alex Shigo in the comments if you're interested in learning more about tree care and pruning. If you have love for your trees, having a baseline of knowledge will help a ton in selecting a good arborist. Taking the time to get multiple evaluations and talking to a few different people can also pay off. Kids' grades at private academies and schools get changed so they don't get pulled out by the parents. Stockbroker here. Wall Street Bets has a large mix of satire, genuine analysis, experts and amateurs, all sharing the same air. Do not make significant financial decisions from someone named U.A.S.S. Blaster 42069 without knowing their qualifications. Financial consultants aren't very helpful unless you're going through a significant life change that needs nuanced guidance. Otherwise, they're just expensive. Cursory research on the basics of mutual funds and fixed income are all you need to build a balanced and diversified portfolio. Day trading is statistically a zero-sum game or worse, detrimental in both your long and short-term financial success. Index funds perform better than most individual stocks in terms of risk-reward. A finance representative saying, "I can't tell you that," is literally so they don't lose their jobs, especially when it pertains to personal information of others. You would believe how many people have tried to get their child, spouse, parent's account number over the phone with the justification, "Well, I'm family WTF." If you've recently achieved a higher level of income and are concerned with taxes with retirement, look into backdoor Roth IRA conversions. Stay the fuck away from OTC penny stocks. I swear, some of the people I helped dug themselves into such deep holes with that shit. If it's expert market or goes unlisted in general, so much money just pisses away. The volatility and transparency issues alone should be enough for you to stay away, but in general have some common sense. Also, it's a pain in the ass for your broker to liquidate a worthless security. Certain purchases require cleared funds, think check clearing, and may take time after transferring into your trading account. For timing entry, if you have a margin account, this can be avoided. Every second of use during online banking trading is tracked. From screen time to mouse location to keystrokes, all of it. Mainly used to settle trade disputes with technical errors to confirm the time of a trade, but it can also be used to investigate fraud claims. People often act with patterns. It's really surprising how easily these behaviors can give away fraudulent activity. Have a separate password for each banking profile, or at least use a separate one for your financial accounts. Identity theft and fraud are so much more common than people realize. I spoke with people pretending to be others regularly, and sometimes they were quite good. There really isn't a pointless security step with financial profiles, the more the better. Don't get your shit stolen. Placing large or risky trades seconds before close through a broker is a massive dick move. Worst case for you, it didn't go in exactly as you wanted and you lost a bit due to rushed entry. Worst case for the broker is a permanent black spot on their record for the trading error that could impact their entire career. You have the whole trading day, don't make it a countdown trade and give your broker an aneurysm. If you have an account at a larger firm and speak to new brokers regularly, you'd be surprised how much a motivator kindness is. Goes for most phone lines, but I busted my ass 10x harder for the clients who treated me with respect. If you're an asshole, don't expect A+ service speeds. Most large brokerage firms don't charge to speak with a broker. They cannot give advice, but they can have in-depth educational conversations about a large variety of investments and strategies to help you understand the ins and outs. Edit. Spelling and some bonus bits. The designer that made the instructions that you just got with your table microwave bike? Never seen that thing. Not a clue. I've got the plans sure, but never seen it. Yeah, we can tell. You cannot copyright or patent a garment design. Only trademarks and branding are able to be protected in the fashion industry. Literally anyone can legally copy any garment so long as they don't use logos or other copyrighted, trademarked branding. Edit. Since a lot of people like technicalities, it is possible to patent novel non-obvious design features, but it's niche and rare. It's typically sports-related clothing like shoes where this is more common. This is why so many luxury brands slap their logos and such all over things they sell. It's the only way they can distinguish something that could otherwise be copied down to the smallest detail. As such, many knockoffs and imitations are literally made by the same people in the same factories as the branded good, but they'll print a slightly different logo or pattern. Otherwise the finished products may be identical. Also, many high-end fashion brands license their brand to other companies for manufacturing. So you'll have your super high-tier brand garment be identical to a lower-tier brand, with the only difference being the label. Sometimes they're even coming off of the same production line at the same time. But there are two buckets at the end with each getting a different label. Occasionally they will use slightly higher quality materials on the higher tier brand, but not always. Some brands will manufacture products exclusively for stores like Ross and TJ Maxx that are of a lower material quality than what you'd buy in Nordstrom, Macy's, etc. But those same brands will also send otherwise unsold wholesale to those stores, so there will be a mix of the real McCoy and purpose-made cheapos. In all cases, never let a label fool you. Look for the quality of the fabrics and stitching first. Everything else is smoke and mirrors. That coffin you paid £3,000 to burn your mum in, well, we can legally sell it another 3 times and you get cremated in a cardboard box. Backstage at concerts isn't wild. At all.